Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. As part of the T4 live stream series, I've been taking the opportunity to speak to friends all around the world to ask them and quiz them as to what their views on education are. Yesterday, you will have seen that I spoke to a friend of mine called Yamama Olarabi on youth skills employment. Today, actually, I bring on an education leader from Microsoft, Mark Sparvell. Mark is someone that has a huge amount of respect for the work that he does and recognition for the strides that he's made with regards to the use of technology in education. And I'd like to welcome him to this live stream. Mark, welcome.
Great. Hi, Vikas.
Hi. Mark, tell everyone where you are first. So they get
Right. I'm coming to everybody live from my bedroom in Washington State, USA.
Wonderful. Well, welcome from your bedroom, as I am in my dining room, as opposed to in the Maldives, as the painting suggests. Mark, COVID and the global pandemic has obviously thrown up lots of issues around the use of technology. It'd be useful if you could, for our viewers, speak a little bit about what you've seen during the pandemic in the use of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, first up, what we've seen has been, a shift from a sort of a rapid emergency response, through to sort of remote learning being delivered with a mix of technologies from digital platforms through to TV and radio and even print. And then we're in this interesting shift now to a new phase, sort of a hybrid, if you like, a planning phase for reopening, that's where people are intentionally bringing the best practice from traditional online, offline, classroom-based learning with the insights and the new learnings from remote learning into these kind of new models. And, what we're seeing is, technology playing, a fundamental and not an ornamental role in helping to drive learning that's sort of high quality and personalized.
And so you recently published a report at Microsoft. Do you want to speak a little bit about that? And in there, you spoke about some of the lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we published and released on Monday with New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, a paper entitled Learning Reimagined, which focuses on the shift from remote to hybrid learning. And the paper recognises that this is a complicated phase that education is in. It's in between a humanitarian and an economic crisis, and that it's not learning returning back to normal. It needs to be learning reimagined as we move forwards. And some of the lessons being learned and they came up in the T4 dialogue the other week, is that the return must be centered around safety and health, around addressing equity, focused on quality teaching and learning, and importantly, have a sharp focus on the social and emotional dimension as we move forwards.
And so, there's a lot of skeptics out there regarding the use of technology. I speak to teachers prior to COVID, actually. That was a very common thing. And I think what the pandemic has done is made everyone realize that, technology has to be part of the mix. What are you seeing in terms of adoption? And how do we improve, in the end, what teachers are trying to do, which is improve learning outcomes?
Yeah, I think for us, we always go back to just simply what you know to be true about what makes quality learning, what makes a difference. We know that learning is a social activity. It's something done best together. We know that learning is experiential and it's developmental. So, with the tools that we use, the digital tools, what they need to be able to do is create those conditions for social learning, for experiential learning. And one of the things that, as a big tech company, we'll be very clear about saying is that, remote learning or hybrid learning does not equate to 100% learning on a screen. In fact, when we've undertaken research across the globe and asked 5,000 students about learning, that was the class of 2030 Life Ready Learning research by McKinsey, they were very clear. They said, we don't want our learning to be automated, but we do want autonomy. So technology can play a critical role in supporting skill development for young people to develop autonomy, to be able to take control and direction of their own learning. Its greatest power is to humanize the learning process, not digitize curriculum content.
And so, I mean, one of the things that I'm interested in is, I hear what you say. Can you bring it to life by telling of some examples of how some of this learning is happening by way of teachers that you know or are part of your network, and what they're doing that is so impressive during this time?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the great thing, which is why, I know we'll talk about this in a moment. While our Global Learning Week, which is coming up, is designed to illuminate those exciting stories of innovative educators across the globe who, have been finding ways to make learning more engaging, more social, more open-world by giving students voice and choice and agency and leveraging technology thoughtfully to do that. I've got a great friend of mine, Matthias, who works in a natural museum education centre in the Netherlands, which relied predominantly on students attending a natural reserve and learning outside. Well, they couldn't do that with COVID, but they were quickly able to flip it around into online sessions, which allowed students to investigate their own back gardens, their own immediate natural environments, and bring their own stories into these gigantic collaborative live video sessions with experts, with scientists and so on. So the interesting bit there, though, was on their very first live session, a couple of the students cried in delight because they saw their friends for the first time in this online environment. So for all of us, there are insights and learning through this remote learning period, and we need to adopt a beginner's mindset where we're open to learning things new. Another quick example, I used this the other day, was great. An ESL, English as a Second Language teacher, was having a class group meeting, which is a great thing to do at the start and end of the day. While he was trying to talk to the class, one of the students, Vikas, was busy in the background cooking at the stove. This teacher, instead of being all instructional, decided to become invitational, and instead asked the student to forget his English as a Second Language assignment, but instead to record a cooking show with a script and have that available for the rest of the class to view in a week from that moment in time. I've seen amazing examples where teachers have been able to adapt their practice into these new modes, this new time and space, to honour the trauma that students have felt and the uncertainty, but find creative ways to give students voice and choice.
But, hard-nosed parents see in terms of the assessments that kids have to do. And in those assessments, they never ask whether their kid can do a video show in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
They're asked whether they can pass algebra or write an essay, an history essay. How do you think about that with regards to this advent and the use of technology?
Yeah, in a couple of ways. Number one, I would say that this period of time we're in at the moment is unscripted, unplanned, and for many people, largely unprepared for. It situates learning at a backdrop of societal and economic upheaval, uncertainty, and trauma. So for the people who are kind of concerned that standards are going to fall, my child's getting behind in their reading and their maths, I would suggest that this is just a moment in time and that your kids are going to be fine. That the thing to focus on most here is providing learners with rich, deep, engaging activities which inspire their curiosity. And guess what? Learning looks a lot different in lots of different ways. For that student with the ESL example, sitting beneath that in the hands of an expert in education, a teacher, sitting behind that is a structured, rigorous curriculum and national standards. On the surface, it might look, sound, and feel like it's a frivolous, engaging activity, but our expert educators, and I've been a teacher for 25 years, our greatest bit of magic is making the curriculum feel effortless and engaging on the surface. And we're just seeing further examples of that with people using technology. I mean, another example, I was listening to a maths teacher the other day. Teachers like to invite me into their online classrooms, and she was teaching volume and capacity of 3D spaces. And she said, so now I'm going to stop. We're going to hop back on the call in exactly 30 minutes. So set your timers, everybody. What I want you to do is to find 2 cupboards in your house and compare their volume. Taking what we've learned in the class just then, I want you to compare the volume between those 2 cupboards. Timers set, see you in 30 minutes. That's invitational learning.
That's great. And is that what is at the heart of your Global Learning Week that is coming up? Please share information about that great opportunity that is available for the T4 community.
Absolutely, yeah, completely free. Microsoft Education's Global Learning Week is this digital event that sort of is aimed to honour and also inspire educators from around the world. It's full of really fun, empowering sort of ideas and celebrations. There's daily live streams, so it's not gigantic. There are bite-sized pieces every day which run for about 1 hour, and they have a different theme. So, you know, for example, June the 22nd is around connecting and collaborating. And we know that peer interactions matter. We know learning is social. Yeah. June the 23rd is focused around literacy. We've got a focus on the 25th around problem solving, but you don't want to miss the 26th because I'm hosting that day, and it's a really fun day focused around social and emotional skills with mindfulness, culminating at the end of the day with me being knighted as Sir Mark the Mindful Knight. So that's one which I'm looking forward to myself. But the good thing is it's a fun week. It's a high energy week of sharing of best practice, but also next practice from the people who know it best, the educators.
And how many educators do you think will be joining the week from past events that you've done?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't know because this is the first time that we've done it. So Microsoft is taking its own beginner's mindset and going, what can we learn from this? Usually we would have ISTE in this time frame, but instead we've decided to open it up, which is one of the great advantages of going digital from having a face-to-face event. So, you know, we know from our registrations and from our kind of traction on social media, there's thousands and thousands of people intrigued and interested and tweeting about and posting about the excitement of this event. So stay tuned.
And so if the T4 community wants to take part in your Global Learning Week, where do they register? What do they do? What are the exact dates? If you could share that, please.
Yeah, the exact dates are June 22nd to June 26th. People can connect up with it on I can share the links in with the community, but through Facebook events, they can sort of register their interest in attending. We've also got announcements on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and also on Instagram, and also within our Flipgrid newsletter. But I'll share those links out, and if people know me and follow me on Twitter @Sparvell, I'll be posting them out after this chat with you, and I'll have hashtag T4Conf added to that as well, so people can track that down.
Wonderful, Mark. If there was one final message that you had for teachers in the use of technology, and you're an award-winning teacher yourself, what would your advice be to someone who at the beginning of COVID would have perhaps described themselves as a reluctant person when it comes to technology? What would your one thing you'd say to them be today?
Yeah, I think my one bit of advice, and I was asked this exact question by a group of beginning teachers 2 days ago who said, you know, what would your advice be particularly around technology? And I said, well, my advice would be don't put that question about technology first. The question first is, you know, what is the kind of learning that I want to happen? Then what are the kinds of technologies and platforms that support that kind of learning? If it's about storytelling and transmission, then this would be good. If it's about thoughtful reflection, maybe Flipgrid is better. If it's about go away, discover and make something brilliant, a beautiful painting, well, use Office Lens to digitize it. So always start with, what it is that you want the learners to do and how you want the learning to be. Then backward by design, find the technology that will amplify, extend, and accelerate it.
Well, those are very valuable insights and wise words from you, Mark. So thank you so much. I appreciate the fact that you've made the time to join me. I know you're a busy guy. And I, as someone who just organized T4, I really do wish you well for your Microsoft Learning Week. And I'm sure many of our educators that are on our Facebook group, on our YouTube site, following on Twitter, I'm sure will plug in. You can follow @Sparvell to get more information, and I'm sure Microsoft Education's tags as well will amplify the opportunity that exists. Mark, thank you once again. It's a pleasure having you on this live stream.
Okay, my pleasure. Enjoyed it.